Jeffrey Epstein created an extensive and sophisticated network inside the scientific community, especially in elite institutions, such as Harvard University, where his participation went far beyond the bounds of simple charity. These relationships included substantial financing of research, influence on academic programs, consultations on scientific questions, and maintenance of personal correspondence even after his conviction in 2008 for soliciting a minor to prostitution. The release on 30th January 2026 of more than 3 million pages of documents by the US Department of Justice within the framework of the Epstein Files Transparency Act shed significant new light on these connections, exposing what many now call a hidden scientific network. This huge array of emails, financial records, photographs, and videos reveals that Epstein offered visa assistance to researchers, gave advice on publications, proposed financing schemes, and participated in discussions of controversial topics such as eugenics and human genetics. Through these connections, Epstein positioned himself as a self-proclaimed scientific philanthropist, gaining access to some of the most outstanding minds in the world, possibly for prestige, influence, or more speculative aspirations connected with ideas of transhumanism. Epstein's participation in science was far from superficial. He donated millions of dollars to institutions, organized scientific conferences on his private island Little Street, James and maintained correspondence with Nobel laureates and well-known researchers. The 2026 files confirm that he kept a list of almost 30 leading scientists with whom he continued interaction for a long time after conviction. While critics assert that this network served primarily for laundering his reputation among elite circles, many of the involved scientists insisted that their contacts were strictly professional and conditioned by the availability of funding. Harvard University stands out as the central node of this network, where Epstein's direct donations between 1998 and 2008 totaled $9.1 million, including a large gift of $6.5 million in 2003 for the creation of the program for evolutionary dynamics. After 2008, he continued to direct additional funds indirectly through donors he introduced, which amounted to another $9.5 million. Harvard's entanglement with Epstein is one of the most thoroughly documented parts of the released files, which caused repeated university investigations. The 2020 report concerned his earlier connections, but the 2026 document dump led to renewed attention to faculty relationships, including connections with former President Lawrence Summers. Epstein was appointed a visiting scientific fellow in Harvard's psychology department for the 2005 to 2006 academic year, despite the absence of usual qualifications, paid tuition, but conducted little significant research. He was readmitted the following year before refusing after arrest. The program for evolutionary dynamics under the leadership of mathematician Martin Nowak became a key node. Epstein visited the program more than 40 times after his release from prison in 2009, including up to 2018, and even had his own office there until complaints from other researchers led to restrictions. The program was focused on evolutionary biology, game theory, and mathematical modeling, fields in which Epstein declared his interest, although his true motives remain a subject of debate. Harvard ultimately closed the program in 2021 and imposed sanctions on Nowak, prohibiting him from receiving new grants or supervising students until 2023. The 2026 files additionally reveal that Epstein intended to leave Nowak $5 million under a 2019 trust agreement. Beyond the program for evolutionary dynamics, Epstein exerted influence on other Harvard initiatives. He facilitated introductions to donors, which brought $2 million in funding to geneticist George Church in the period from 2010 to 2015. Meeting with Church several times in 2014, including at Harvard Medical School. The documents also show that Epstein's PR agent worked on improving his public image, linking his foundations to the program's website, and including exaggerated statements of support. The Hillel organization of Harvard requested donations from him even after conviction, while professors such as Lisa Randall maintained electronic correspondence with him for years, including during and after house arrest. Randall visited his island in 2014, attended the Epstein-funded conference in St. Thomas in 2006, and later expressed deep regret, stating that she was shocked by the accusations against him. The 2026 files significantly expand the known scale of Epstein's academic connections, naming dozens of researchers and scientists from different institutions. Martin Novak received $6.5 million from Epstein in 2003, exchanged frequent letters, stayed in Epstein's apartment in New York, thanked Ghislaine Maxwell for hospitality, and was named the presumed recipient of $5 million under Epstein's will. George Church repeatedly met with Epstein in 2014, benefited from introductions to donors, and enrolled Epstein in the Harvard Personal Genome Project, while simultaneously facilitating genetic testing that could have been connected with regenerative medicine. Lisa Randall maintained long-term email correspondence, flew on Epstein's private jet, visited his island, and attended his 2006 conference, before later expressing regret. Physicist Lawrence Krauss appeared in Epstein's list of 30 scientists, attended the Confronting Gravity event in 2006 on the island together with Nobel laureates and Stephen Hawking, and continued connections subsequently. The deceased computer scientist from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Marvin Minsky, agreed to meet with Epstein at Harvard in 2014 and faced unconfirmed accusations of misconduct on the island. Harvard psychologist Steven Pinker was filmed in a short video on Epstein's plane and attended dinners, while linguists from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Noam Chomsky, consulted him on media strategy regarding the accusations. Former Harvard President Lawrence Summers conducted frequent meetings and dinners with Epstein, later acknowledging it as a serious error of judgment. Among other figures, behavioral economist from Duke University Dan Ariely, artificial intelligence researcher Josha Bach, ecologist from Princeton Corina Tarnita, former virologist from Stanford Nathan Wolfe, and computer scientist from Yale University David Gelunter, each of whom was connected through funding, communications, meetings, or other forms of support. These relationships often included Epstein's assistance with visas, guidance on publications, or financial support. And he personally consulted with researchers on genetic testing for life extension, even financing his own genomic sequencing. Epstein's scientific network raises serious questions about his genuine motives. Some observers suggest that he sought to direct research toward eugenics or transhumanism, since, as reported, he expressed interest in using his DNA to influence the future of humanity. Others interpret these connections as a calculated attempt to restore his image among intellectual elites. The files document events, such as the 2006 Street Thomas Conference, where scientific discussions were intertwined with the setting of his private island. From an ethical point of view, the continuation of these relationships after conviction, often justified by the need for funding or belief in personal reform, provoked sharp criticism. The consequences included official investigations at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and Harvard, high-profile resignations, such as the resignation of Joey Ito at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and constant public attention. The 2026 release itself came under criticism due to redaction errors that revealed victims' names and sensitive images, further fueling condemnation of the Department of Justice's actions. Although no new criminal charges have been brought against the scientists named in the documents, the files vividly illustrate the complex intersection of wealth, power, and scientific prestige in Epstein's world, renewing calls for stricter control and vetting of controversial donors in the academic environment.